there was a woman called Dolores. She had 2 children, a daughter, 12. Her name was Juana, and a little baby boy, just newborn baby. His name was Joaquin. Dolores had a husband, but not now. Such good-looking, hard-working, honorable husband. That husband had gone one day to the fair in Chillán to sell a fatted cow, but he did not come back. The following day, the cow came running with a rope caught in its horn and its hide all wet. People thought the husband might drown by crossing the river, and the cow somehow, strangely, in a way we don't know, must got away. Well, the people went to look for the husband in the river, and they looked, but they found nothing. After a few days, some workmen said they have seen the husband riding on a horse with a woman near the river. That woman they all called Alma Perdida, lost soul. For it was said, the people said, that woman had deals with the devil. She was a witch, at least they said so. For in your ranch, if you went by, you could hear singing and carrying on around that place. Well, Dolores couldn't believe that her loving husband, su marido tan querido, will leave his children and herself without any explanation. But how could she argue? Her husband had disappeared without a trace. Dolores had come from a little town near the beach, close to Constitucion. She decided she was ready to start a new life because she was feeling very lonely there. Everything reminded her about her loving Pancho. So he started selling her few animals she had, the little land that she had. The only thing she decided to keep was that beautiful cow. She loved that cow. Somehow it looked like a human being when it looked into her eyes. And she kept it. Besides, the cow was giving her plenty of milk, which she was using it to feed the little baby. And it could make cheese. Juana, her daughter, would help her to take care of the baby. And so they did. They sold all that they had and they moved to this little town near the beach. She was very happy, ready to start a new life there. And they started to do some cheese and she was going to the village to sell it. And one of those days, Juana decided that was the perfect day to bring the baby to the ocean for a bath. She held the baby in her arms and she waded into the ocean. When all of a sudden, a huge wave pulled her head over heels and she started going under and under the water. She fought to come out again with a big scream. And when she went out of the water, she looked for the baby. The baby was nowhere to be found. She went back, plunged into the water and tried to find the baby many, many times until she could not breathe anymore. She went out and desperately she just sat there at the sand and cried and sobbed. When all of a sudden she hears her name called and she looked up. What do you think she sees? The cow talking to her in a human voice. And it said, I knew this was going to happen. It was the same like with your father. That woman, she's a witch, you know, and the water spirits are her in-laws. She took now the baby. The next one will be you, unless you do as I tell you. What will that be? Asked Juana. Well, you have to take my knife and kill me and skin me immediately. Spread my hide on the ocean because it will let you go through the ocean like a sailboat. But remember to keep my tail. For each one of my hairs, it's magical. It will solve any problems that you have in the journey. I also take my 2 eyeballs and put it in your pocket because those are magical. They will let you see through earth and water, through stones and mountains. Well, Juana didn't have much choice. She did as was instructed. And before she knew, she was gliding over the waves. She was really feeling very happy about it. She was far from shore, but in a second, hundreds of fish came snapping at the hooves of the hide, and they were trying to drown it. She had to act fast. She remembered about the hair of the tail, so she plucked one hair, and she looked at it, and it transformed into a huge owl. And she just pushed away all the fish around as fast as she could do, until she left that place where all the fish were. She kept sailing, but it became dark and gloomy. So that was the time she needed to take an eyeball and look through the ocean. Oh, she could see deep, deep down the ocean, the blue sea, the big sea monsters, rocks, shipwrecks, everything she could see with those eyeballs. And those eyeballs allowed her to sail through the night until the next morning. And in the morning, huge blackbirds, even bigger than condors, came landing on the hide, and it was drowning. She had to act fast. She plucked another hair of the tail, and as she looked at it, it became a blunderbuss. She pulled the trigger and makes a lot of noise to the air. Bum, 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 and all the birds flew away fast. Well, she was sailing down south, reaching the Antarctica. And the icebergs were coming to meet her. They were coming direct to her, and she was so scared that she plucked a lot of hair from the tail this time, and she just threw that hair to the icebergs. The hair turned into fire flames and melted all the iceberg. And so she could keep on her sailing. She decided to look further down with another eyeball. On the horizon, she could see an island. She thought, that island, there is my baby brother. In fact, in the center of the island, she could see a huge castle surrounded by walls. Walls, big walls. Then she landed there, close to the castle, and ran immediately. She knew her little baby brother was inside the castle. She looked with the eyeball through the walls, and she could see a big, huge room. In the center of the room was a marble column, and tied to that column was a man. It was her father. And there was that woman that they all called Alma Perdida. She was holding her baby brother in one hand, and she had a knife in the other. And she was talking to her father. Her father was turning his face as he couldn't see what she was going to do. Juana had to act fast because she knew that woman wanted to kill her baby brother. So she plucked one more hair of the tail, and with that hair she touched the wall of the castle, and it became a ladder. She could climb on the wall with the ladder, and then she reached a window. And when she reached that window, she just fast as she could, she jumped towards that woman and took her baby brother and took away her knife and pushed her far away down in the room so that she could rescue her father. Well, one black column. She could see stairs coming down. They decided to go through those stairs down in the castle. And what do you think they found under the castle? There was a huge treasure. There were gold, gems, all kinds of treasures. Juana and her father tried to put as many coins of gold and gems into their pockets, and somehow they ran fast out of the castle, back to the hide again, and they were pushed very fast by invisible beings that took them fast to the shore, where her mother was waiting for them. Somehow the mother had picked a scent in the wind, and she was waiting for them. When she saw her children and her husband coming back, she embraced them with joy. Well, the father was explaining about the witch, how she had tricked him with his magical words, and how she had tied him in that column because he didn't want to marry her. But when he was doing that, Juana was running back and forth on the beach. She was gathering all the bones of the cow, and she spread the cow hide very nicely and put the bones on the place they belong. She put back the eyes in the sockets. She had one last hair tail, so she tried to use a match to burn that hair, but she burned her fingers instead, and she dropped the hair on the cowhide, and the cow stood up as alive and plump as ever. Can you believe that? Well, that's when it really happened. The cow stood ambling home as happy and healthy as ever, and the father, with all the gems and the jewels that he got from the castle, he bought a nice ranch, lots of animals, and everything they needed to be happy. And here we are, still waiting for our luck to change, and my tale is done. And the wind blows it out, and when the wind blows it back, I might tell it again. Thank you.
We're going to have a